The movie opens high above Kuala Lumpur, high atop the towering Merdeka 118. Yelena, burdened by grief after Natasha's death and aimless depression, launches a jaw-dropping dive, parachute deployed. But instead of a stunt, she lands at a CIA-owned lab, where she infiltrates the facility to sabotage the OXC group's secret project involving a patient named Bob, who was thought to be dead. Elsewhere in court, Valentina is taken before the Department of Human Rights for experimenting on innocent people to create her own superhero. She objects and tells the court that powered individuals are needed since the Avengers are no longer around after their battles with Thanos. She insists her secret project is necessary to defend America if another attack ever happens. The court rejects her argument, calling it a violation of human rights, and they vow to continue investigating her labs for any hidden human trial evidence. Later, in a panic, Valentina tells her assistant, Mel, to get rid of all the evidence of human testing throughout their labs. She then calls Yelena and lies to her, saying there's an agent planning to rob her at a warehouse facility. She gives Yelena a target name and tells her to kill the person. Yelena arrives at the facility and begins searching for her target. Suddenly, she's attacked by John, who also works for Valentina. They fight, and Yelena tells John he's not her target, but John says she is his. Then Taskmaster enters the scene and fights with John, saying John is her target. As the chaos unfolds, Ava appears and attacks Taskmaster, claiming her as her own target. The group battles each other until Ava finally kills Taskmaster. Out of nowhere, Bob crawls out of a box and introduces himself to the three agents. They're confused, realizing they were all sent here to kill each other and that Valentina is trying to get rid of them for an unknown reason. Suddenly, the facility starts its self-destruct sequence with 2 minutes on the clock. They work together to escape, and Ava teleports out of the locked room, then opens the door to free the others just in time. Yelena is then pulled into a memory, one where she lured a young girl named Anya into the woods, leading to Anya's death at the hands of a waiting assassin. The memory haunts her. When she snaps out of it, she sees Bob and is confused as to how he got there. She regains consciousness and begins to suspect that Bob is something more. As the group continues to climb up and search for a way out, John pulls Bob up and is suddenly pulled into one of his own memories. He remembers the moment he neglected his son, leading to a fight with his wife that ended in divorce. He regains consciousness with a sense of regret and begins to feel there's something different about Bob. Suddenly, military soldiers approach the building. John ambushes them and knocks them out. The trio puts on the soldiers' uniforms and walks past Valentina, who's waiting to see the bodies brought out. They reach a military vehicle and try to drive off but are stopped and asked to show their faces. Bob chooses to create a diversion. He sneaks back into the facility and fires a gun into the air. The soldiers rush toward the gunfire, allowing the others to drive away. Bob is shot but miraculously survives and flies into the sky, only to lose consciousness and crash back down. The next morning, Valentina and her team recover Bob from the crash site and bring him into custody. She orders Mel to gather new scientists at one of her other hidden labs so they can study him further and help him gain control over his powers. Elsewhere, Yelena, John, and Ava trek across the hot mountains until Yelena spots a car approaching. Driving it is her father, Alexei, who now works as a private driver. He picks them up and explains that, by coincidence, he recently drove Valentina and overheard her talking about eliminating Yelena and the other agents to cover up her human trial experiments. Before they can react, John notices military vehicles gaining on them. He warns Alexei to speed up as gunfire erupts. John uses his shield to block bullets, while Alexei hurls a handmade fireball at one of the vehicles. But Valentina's men keep firing until Bucky appears, destroying the pursuing vehicles and crashing the last one. The group thinks they're safe, until Bucky blows up their car to stop them from leaving. At Valentina's new lab, Mel briefs her on Bob's background, revealing that he suffers from depression and other mental health issues. Mel warns that giving someone with his struggles superhuman powers could be dangerous, but Valentina ignores her. She's simply pleased that Bob survived the experiments. She enters his room dressed warmly and speaks to him with false compassion, telling him he's special and destined to be Earth's new protector. She paints Yelena and the others as dangerous and insists he only trust her. Under her manipulation, Bob agrees to become the hero she envisions. Meanwhile, Bucky has the agents in custody, intent on taking them to trial as evidence of Valentina's human experiments. They try to convince him they no longer work for her and that she actually tried to have them killed, but he doesn't believe them, until Mel calls him directly. She warns that Valentina is about to put Bob into a dangerous mission and urges Bucky to enlist Yelena and the others, insisting he can't take Valentina down alone. With no other option, Bucky releases them, and they head to the city together to stop her. They crash into Valentina's building, fighting their way past guards and reaching the top floor. Valentina greets them calmly, but then Bob enters, now introduced as Sentry. She outlines her plan to have Sentry destroy them in front of the press, having already framed them publicly as rogue agents. At her command, Sentry engages, quickly overpowering the group. Realizing they can't beat him, they retreat. But in the middle of the fight, Sentry has a shift in mindset, recognizing that he's now stronger than anyone and doesn't need to follow Valentina's orders. He turns on her, nearly crushing her neck, until Mia appears and activates a kill switch to knock him out. Valentina and Mia leave, but Sentry's body starts to turn completely black. Tensions flare within the crew, with Yelena saying they're not really heroes like the Avengers and walking away. Ava vanishes, but Alexei follows Yelena. She finally opens up about her grief over losing her sister Natasha, and feeling completely abandoned, even by her father. Alexei apologizes, saying he was also mourning his daughter and promises never to leave her again. She forgives him, visibly emotional. Suddenly, they see a dark figure hovering in the sky. As helicopters approach, Sentry, now transformed, raises his hand, and Valentina's men vanish instantly. The helicopters spiral out of control and crash from the air. Debris rains from the sky, forcing Yelena and the rest of the crew to shield nearby civilians from being crushed. The chaos fades into relief as the citizens begin clapping, hailing them as new heroes. But before they can even process the moment, people abruptly vanish into thin air. Then Sentry appears. Everyone scatters, rushing into buildings for cover, but Yelena refuses to run. She stays behind, stepping toward Sentry to confront him. In an instant, reality around her fractures. She is no longer in the street, but inside a memory that has long haunted her. She finds herself deep in the woods, leading a girl toward a grim fate before having her killed. The guilt crushes her, and she fights to break free, running through the forest until she slams into a wall. She smashes through it, landing in an unfamiliar space. Through a mirror, she sees Bob, who gestures for her to enter his room. Inside, she demands to know why he has turned on everyone. Bob's voice is heavy with defeat as he tells her he isn't in control anymore. His body is being driven by his subconscious, the part of him that has locked away his deepest depression, pain, and shame. Yelena studies him, realizing the isolation he's endured for years. She apologizes for whatever he has suffered and promises she will stay by his side as long as they fight together. Suddenly, the air shifts. Every piece of furniture in the room lifts off the ground, hurling toward them with violent force. The crew bursts in, shattering the flying debris. Reunited, they push forward and eventually make their way into Valentina's lab, the place where Bob was first tested. There, they find Sentry sitting silently. Without warning, he rises and flings a table at Yelena and Alexei, pinning them against the wall. One by one, he traps the rest of the crew as well. Meanwhile, the city outside is swallowed in total darkness. Sentry feeds on it, consuming people and entire buildings. Elsewhere, inside Bob's mind, Sentry taunts him, telling him he's always been alone, that no one has ever truly cared for him, and that he should surrender completely. But Bob refuses. Rage boils inside him. He lunges at Sentry, striking him repeatedly. For a moment, it seems like he's winning, until his body begins to shift, his form slowly becoming Sentry's. Yelena breaks free from her restraints and rushes to him, calling out, reminding him that he isn't alone anymore, that she and the crew are with him. Her voice cuts through the darkness, pulling him back. They break free of his subconscious, returning to the city. The darkness that smothered it begins to fade, replaced by light spreading across the skyline. The crew then spots Valentina and approaches, ready to arrest her. But Valentina diverts them, leading them straight into a crowd of reporters. There, she announces to the press that Yelena and her team are the new Avengers. Cameras flash, the crowd cheers and claps. Yelena and the crew exchange looks, knowing the truth of what happened, but for now, they remain silent, forced to stand in the moment and accept the title put upon them. Please make sure to like, comment and subscribe for more notifications. Until next time. See you soon.